All right, welcome to the Non-Stuffy Attorneys podcast. I am here today with Richelle Marting from Marting Law, and yeah, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is actually my first meeting of the new year, and I can't think of a better way to kick it off.
I'd say the same. It's my first meeting of the new year too.
Great, great. My kids are home, and they rolled their eyes when I said, "Well, at least I haven't worked until last year." Mom jokes.
How many kids do you have?
I have three kids. I've got twin girls and their younger brother.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. How old? What ages?
My girls are in fifth grade, and my son's in second.
Second, and fifth. You have a very active life right now with that.
We
We,
do, yeah,
y-
it's a fun age, but it's an active and busy age, it sure
yeah,
is.
yeah. We have a 14-year-old daughter. We just have one. Uh, my biggest regret in life, my only really regret in life is not having more. Um, yeah, but she's fantastic. She was enough for three. We always said.
My oldest two that are girls, they're twins, which is enough, but each of one of them individually, is I feel the same way. They either one of them could have kept us, very busy, and we would have had our hands full.
Yeah. Do you have help with them throughout the week, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so Christmas break is kind of an interesting time, I feel like, for working parents. And part of what led me to the setup and the environment I am was actually Christmas break in 2019. It was right before my girls were going to be starting kindergarten that upcoming year. And it was also when people were getting sick with this weird viral illness right before COVID became the explosive pandemic that it was. I was home with my kids and really stressing out about not being at the office at work and how my husband and I were going to coordinate schedules during this almost 2-week period that they were home from school. And it really made me kind of step back and say, I shouldn't be stressing about this time that my kids are at home. Something's got to change where this can be a positive time and a fun time, and I can actually enjoy it. So it's been great. I work from home. And while I do still work most of the day throughout the week, in between meetings, in between work, I can sit down with them. We can do some activities. My husband also now has a much more flexible schedule. So we're all just kind of home together during this time.
Nice, nice. So you work from home all the time? Are you guys totally virtual?
That's right. Completely virtual team. Yes.
Nice, nice. Yeah, we do the opposite. We have a couple of employees who work remote. Actually, we have one that's hybrid and one that's fully remote. But everyone else is in the office, and yeah, that always poses its own set of challenges. But are you happy with the remote work
I
environment?
love it. It works great for me. I used to kind of joke I must be just like built for a global pandemic. I can hunker down at home. I'm actually very productive at home. While I love the water cooler chats and the camaraderie with team, we've really figured out a way to replicate that in a remote environment with, Teams and Zoom and being able to just quickly call team members and sit and have a little virtual coffee chat the same way we used to just stop by one another's office in a physical office setting. And I really enjoy it. We have a lot of team members. Actually, we happen to all be women. That wasn't necessarily by design. It has just worked out that way. Many of us are also parents. And so it really has been great flexibility for the working moms on the team to have that work life balance with our kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am not productive at home. Um, yeah,
I
during the
think
pan.
that's the key. It's just whether it's the right fit for you, for each individual. Yeah.
Right, right. Um, so you and I connected on Facebook. You had put out a post about getting, more into the CEO type of role, right? So tell me a little bit about what you have going on.
Yes, I started in I say this setting, kind of this completely remote setting. Back in 2020, I had left the law firm where I had spent the entire beginning of my career, but we really were going into the office nearly every day and didn't really work from home. And used that time before my kids went into my two girls went into kindergarten to really spend some time with them before things got crazy with school and activities and things. And then I slowly started to just do projects on my own for a couple of years, but it really wasn't until 2023 I hired my first full time employee, who was another attorney with a similar background that I have. And from there, that first employee, I don't know if it became addictive, but I just loved bringing on new team members in our kind of really specialized area of work that we do. Now have 9 employees. We're completely virtual. We work in the area of healthcare and particularly healthcare reimbursement issues. So how providers and how hospitals get paid. But with that growth, that exciting and that fun growth has also been challenges and some growing pains kind of for me, because now you're the business owner, your HR, your business development, your marketing, your social media and SEO, and you're a full-time attorney. So all of that becomes what feels like FTE after FTE piling up. And that was the prompt, what the impetus behind my post is trying to figure out a way to balance what I still love doing as a practicing attorney, but finding a way to create that space and create that time that is not additive to my day. It is within my day to think more in a strategic business strategy role like an executive.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, there's just too many hats in a business to wear them all. And, if you try to, you'll just end up doing a very mediocre job at most of them.
Right. Or there's burnout. That's a very
Right.
real thing for small business owners that get to that point, because you it does feel like it becomes additive, and it's hard to pull back on being the practicing attorney to focus on all of those other tasks and ideas and strategy that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, so you got 9 employees. What, positions do they have? Do you have an
I have
attorney?
2 I do. I have 2 other full-time attorneys. We will have, an additional attorney joining us later this year who's, graduating from, her legal program in 2026. I have 2 employees who, have similar kind of specialized, education that we have. So all of our attorneys are not only JDs, but we are registered health information administrators, which is kind of the specialized area that we work in.
Sounds
We
like
have
it.
2 other full-time individuals who have that same background, as well as master's level education in either healthcare administration or healthcare law. And then I have 2 full-time individuals who are certified professional medical coders who help us with a lot of the reimbursement work that we
Mm,
do.
okay. Do you have where do you get business from? Is it all referral?
It really is. My marketing budget is about 0. It's word of mouth. I do a lot of presentations, a lot of conversations like this, mostly because I enjoy it, and also selfishly, I get to go to conferences and get education myself as I'm presenting at those conferences. But word of mouth, small projects develop into long-term relationships with clients, and it's been very organic the way it started in 2020, from really nothing to what it is today.
Yeah, yeah. So when you get a client, um, so who is your client? Is it a hospital, or is that generally what it is?
Generally, yes. So we work with hospitals, we work with physician practices. We actually are working with a lot of smaller professional groups, like applied behavioral analysis providers, surgery centers. I mean, those delivering healthcare in about any setting are typically the clients we work with.
All right. So then you have an ongoing relationship with them, like their ongoing work. It's not just like a one-off.
Usually, yes. In a perfect world, it's one off, one and done, and there are no more issues that we need to be involved with. But a lot of the matters that we help handle tend to recur or pop back up periodically. So we do end up having a lot of long-term relationships with those clients.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is the long-term plan for your firm? What do you want to see it be?
Yeah, my husband and I have spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks thinking through that, and it's been nice to have a slower holiday season to actually be able to step back and give that a little bit of thought. I would say the short to intermediate plan is to stick with the core group of employees that we have now, who I think are they're A plus. They are absolutely fantastic, and to really just kind of settle a little bit more into the roles that we have and the work that we have and start to develop workflows and get more efficient at the work that we're doing. I should have mentioned too that one of the things that was really important to me in this new setting was to do a lot of flat fee or subscription type projects to get away from the billable hour,
Yeah.
which necessarily lends itself to efficiency and technology, which is super fun but also really challenging for someone like myself who has an interest but not necessarily knowledge and expertise in workflows and automation and those types of things. So I think that's our goal over the next couple of years is really to lean into tools and technology to tighten up our workflows to have same quality of work with faster turnaround time with the team members that we have. Big picture, I love doing a lot of work in kind of a it's a almost a law related space. I do a lot of consulting type work that's a little bit different than your traditional legal work, and I can see that being the direction I personally take in the work that I do that is not executive level, while the attorney team members that I have really work on their lawyering skills and knowledge and expertise to really make the legal work kind of their own and be able to take that on under their own wing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, do you have so much work right now that your team is kind of swamped?
Yes, it's a good problem to have, I suppose, better than the alternative. But we're never sitting around wondering what we're going to do with our time. That is for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, getting more efficient will definitely help out quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I think the ideal or the vision, and that I love that particular Facebook group for is if we could get more efficient, if we can do our work in 30 hours a week instead of 40, retain the same revenue, I mean, that's fantastic for everybody. That would be the ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what what software are you using? Like Clio, anything like that?
So we really leverage the Microsoft Office 365 platform for most of the things that we do. That's where we do our Microsoft Outlook for email, but we use Teams and SharePoint and those tools really heavily. Teams kind of becomes our hub for all of our internal communications. We really don't use email to communicate with one another. Quick chats, almost like Slack or other platforms where we can send quick questions back and forth, and that also allows us to have a sort of a client portal. We can really quickly and easily share folders with clients using that platform where they can exchange things with us securely without going through email, or we can grant them access to different parts of their file if they would like. And I'm really a fan of kind of minimalism when it comes to technology and trying to best leverage what we have without having a bunch of different logins and a bunch of different software to work within.
Yeah, huge fan of that. We use the Google Suite, G Suite, but we also have Zoho. Have you heard of Zoho?
I've heard of it, but I've not explored that tool.
Yeah, it's massive. It's a all-in-one platform. It has a bunch of different apps. So there's like the CRM app, which is like sales based, client relationship based, that type of thing. Then there's an app for social media. There's an app for books, which is like bookkeeping and billing clients. There's one for projects, which is essentially like keeping track of all the matters and everything like that. So yeah, there's a lot more to it than just that. Analytics, right? That's really helpful. We manage everything by statistic, right? Everyone has their own production statistic, and yeah, that's how we monitor growth, right? If stats are going up, then you're growing. If they're not, then you're not. Um, but that has helped us a lot with efficiency. Now, Zoho has to be like custom built out, which has been, we launched it in I guess it was April of 24, and we had been working on it. We had a developer working on it with us from January until April, and he still works on it for us. Yeah, we're still.
Yeah, yeah. I had a tool when I first started, and I have kind of moved away from it, but it has really developed out more where it's kind of on my radar to go poke around again. And it's called Sweet Dash. And it sounds a lot like Zoho. It has all of those apps as well as learning management system, which is something I've got on my next couple of year plan to have more. We do a lot of education with clients, but to have a learning management system or courses or webinars that can be kind of more of a passive revenue on the side of what we do day to day. And it has that within its system as well. So it's something it's white labeled. It looks just like your platform that clients can log into
That's
and
awesome.
has the capability to do all of the billing, timekeeping, estimates, client portal, and it has flows and automation. So it may be something we're exploring as we're really trying to challenge ourselves to lean into technology and efficiency.
Yeah, yeah. Have you done any like business management training? Like, have you explored that? Because I know, look, they don't teach you that in law school, right?
Yeah, none of this. We weren't taught any of this in law school. Lots of YouTube videos, lots of podcasts, lots of just learning from others and what they have found works, but nothing formal.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the way to go. I don't think you need to do anything formal. Um, I mean, my background, my wife is the attorney, the managing attorney for our law firm, and um, I have extensive sales, marketing, and business executive experience. So we started the law firm in May of 2020. Right? We had just moved to Florida, didn't know anybody. She had to study for the bar. Um, and yeah, right when she gets the day she took the test is basically when the world shut down. Um, so yeah, the whole plan was for her to network. She's beautiful, she's super personable, and that was just completely thrown out the window due to the pandemic. But so I was working a sales job. I got one when we moved here. And then in May of 2020, she started up just out of the house. So it was just her. And she was billing she was doing hourly billing, mostly business law. And, she, it was driving me crazy because it, she'd bill like 10 hours in a week. Like, why'd you only bill 10 hours? Well, I'm answering the phone and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And finally, we did the math on it, and I figured I could get her maybe an extra like 10 to 15 hours if I left my job, 10 to 15 billable hours a week. So I left December of 2020 and quickly realized her billable hours didn't change. I was like, what the hell is going on? Right? Like, why are you not? And it just every excuse in the book. But what I finally realized is she wasn't good at hourly billing. She has like this bleeding heart and she feels like, well, I can't charge for that and I shouldn't charge for this. And so she just wasn't. Um, Funny enough, her and I were like getting into it about that. Like we were like having like arguments about it. And I remember I was on Facebook and this woman, her name's Brita Long. You know Brita?
I took her course. It was the first thing I did because I knew if I ever started doing work again on my own, that was the way I was going to do it. I actually took her course about 6 months before I even really took on a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. So she like, it was like a angel out of heaven came through, and I ordered her book, read it over the weekend, um, ended up having a call with her, did her course, we did her course, and we implemented flat fees immediately. We've never gone back to hourly since then. But what her and I had to start, and that has always been successful, is she she focused on the legal work and the consultations, and I handled everything else. Okay, so we really separated our hats, and we were we were equals in running the business. And so I was handling, everything from HR to marketing to finance, um, you know, getting reviews, the website, all of that is what I was responsible for. And at the time, yeah, she was responsible for the legal work and doing the consultations because I couldn't do the consultations. Um, but I think that was kind of the the structure that we set up in order for us to, I guess you could say in a business there's certain divisions, right? You have break them down for you, right? There's the executive division, which is like planning and future growth. Like, okay, where's the company going? That's kind of like the gist of it. Then you have HR, right? That's like one division, right? Everything to do with HR. Then you have marketing, right? All anything to do with website, social media, all that stuff, marketing. Then you have the finance division. Then you have the legal production, right? The production division. Then you have a quality control division. And then you also have sales, PR, those type of things. So it's a whole structure, like an organizing structure. And each one of those areas needs to have somebody who is responsible for it. Okay. So if you don't have somebody who's overseeing either one division or they oversee multiple divisions, um, then it turns into this like very, oh my God, I got to do everything. Would you agree with
Abs-
that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was in charge of, the left side, the division, the HR, marketing, and finance, while she was in charge of legal work, quality control, and sales. And as the years have gone on, we've put other people in those positions, right? So, like I now have somebody who's uh, junior to me, and all he does is he's HR, right? So he handles that division. Then we have marketing, right? We have a full time marketing guy on staff, and he's in control of that division. Um, and the the hard part for me, I'm kind of a control freak.
I think a lot of us small business owners are. That's absolutely the hardest part.
Yeah, and it's very easy to say, well, I know this better than they do, and I can I can I'll make sure that it gets done right, and that was probably the hardest part of the growth, was saying, okay, you are now responsible for this, and you are now responsible for that, and you know, but it's been great. We've had no issues. I mean, I don't want to say no issues. We've had lots of issues, but that's always going to happen with growth. You're always going to have, if you're not having problems, you're not doing enough.
Yeah, it's so interesting your family, your business timing wise. The focus on flat fees, it sounds so, parallel to what I've experienced. My husband also left his W-2 job at the end of 2020. He had some, other more passive, work that he did instead, but really in the last year has kind of stepped in to help me with more of the business management. After a while, I relinquished control of the books, reconciling the accounts at the end of the month, and those types of things. One of the challenges I found I had with that kind of external fractional CFO type role was the timing. So as business owners, you work on the business when you find the time, or it might be a Sunday night and you happen to be kind of poking around in things. And I would find that was really challenging for me because the bank may not be reconciled. Invoices that had been paid may not have been marked as paid. So I really couldn't analyze things just in a real time basis because I had to wait for that role to do those tasks. My husband recently, maybe begrudgingly, I'm not sure, agreed to help reabsorb that between the two of us. So as I remote deposit my checks on my phone, I can pass it over to him and he goes in and marks things and it's in real time now. And um, I love having him there with me. I love that real time, um, having the finances up to date at any particular point in time. And he has been a tremendous help when going back and looking at AR, things that when you started out, there were so few invoices. You send an invoice, it gets paid. There really wasn't AR, but you grow and it happens, or things are overlooked. And really making sure we are staying on top of that every single month has had a huge, particularly end of this year, when we really started focusing on it on the last 90, 120 days, impact on getting books cleaned up and AR paid.
Oh my god. AR is such a nightmare if you don't have someone on top of it.
It is, and, one of the challenging things I've found with being in kind of a flat fee or a subscription model, you end up with invoices that are the same amount over and over. Like, I have clients that pay a set amount per month that we do their ongoing business work for. It's really easy then to get a check tied to the wrong invoice, and then things just cascade and it creates a whole mess when you realize, wait, some invoice way back when didn't get paid and now things are off for all of time. So that's one of the challenges of that flat monthly subscription, but staying on top of it in real time now, I think, is just going to be a game changer.
Yeah, when did he start doing that for you?
About September of this
Okay.
year, was really when I felt like, and maybe there are other solutions out there, but I felt like I just needed that real time, or, close to real time bookkeeping. But again, I didn't want to absorb that back in-house myself. I'm already at my personal max capacity. He
Yep,
loves personal finance, and he probably now loves poking and prodding me to send invoice reminders and do things. And it's also just good quality time to sit down with my husband when we talk about business stuff, and we really enjoy that.
that's good, that's good. So is he doing, uh, the follow-up with clients to get them to collect from them?
So far, I am still doing that, and I've kind of
Oh,
been rolling around in my
get off of
head.
that. Get
Yes, yes. I need one of those, like, admin at emails to start.
Mhm.
Those are the types of things I'm kind of thinking 2026, we need to start that type of process, not only for admin invoice follow-up, but also for things that are coming in from clients to do work. So we just started a new process that is contracts at our domain, and so our attorneys, and some of our staff that will help with parts of contract review have access to this shared inbox, so that if something comes in just to me, there's not a holdup waiting for me to send that out or to assign it somebody. We now have a centralized, all things contracts are coming to one place. And that's how we kind of divvy up and delegate out. So that's in our 3 to 6 month process to shift more of those admin functions to the new admin who's really hardcore in finances.
That's good. That's good. Is he working with you full time?
I would still say it's very part-time.
Okay.
Another kind of interesting structure in the law firm where I had spent the first 10 plus years of my career, we never had paralegals,
Mm.
or I never had really a sense of like what admin support could look like. And so it's hard for me to even know how to what to delegate, let alone how and to actually effectuate that. So I'm just trying to slowly identify those repetitive tasks and those stop, think, does this require a lawyer's skills? Does this need me? And if not, let's write down a process and have someone else start doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have paralegals now?
I would say that the 2 individuals that we have full time, I would say they're like a specialized type of paralegal because they're not attorneys, but they are very well versed in the kind of specialized area of healthcare work that we do. So they do a lot of the functions in our type of work that I think paralegals in traditional law probably fulfill.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we are very paralegal and legal assistant heavy. God, how many do we have? I think we have 6 or 7 paralegals, maybe 6.
And how
And
many
each
attorneys now on your
we
team?
have 2.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, we have 2 attorneys. Yeah, I think it's 6 or 7 paralegals. Each of the paralegals have their own legal assistant. Yeah.
So these
So,
are functions I've not been exposed to in my career and what each of those roles do and the difference between them.
yep. So our paralegals are, uh, I mean, they're as good as attorneys. They really are. These guys are super, super experienced, very, very, very high level legal practitioners. But yeah, so basically we do estate planning, probate, and elder law, like a lot of Medicaid, getting people approved for Medicaid. That's big here in Florida. But probate is a long process. It's anywhere generally speaking, it's about 8 to 10 months on average for one file. And the paralegal will do the drafting of all the legal documents, and then the attorney reviews it, and that's it. Our attorneys very rarely, almost never, do drafting themselves. So then the legal assistants are, making sure handling the mail for the particular case, calling the court system, um, keeping up with the specific project that it's assigned to, making sure tasks are getting completed timely. Yeah, all of that. And legal assistants are mostly handling the phone calls from clients, getting, updates. Yes. But
That's what we're working towards. And I would say it's that drafting piece that has been one of our biggest challenges. And I think for us, it's a matter, we have a lot of younger, or at least on the relative spectrum, earlier in our career team members, which is a lot of fun because lots of room for training and personal and professional development. Also a challenge at this particular stage of the business, to do that development and get them to a point of autonomy and independence where they feel confident and they feel comfortable with that drafting or with those review steps, to then reserve the attorney time for the final review.
yeah. Yeah, it's we had for we started out with business law, right? Ashley was just doing business law. That's what she was experienced in. And then we had clients asking for estate plans more and more. And we found Sarah, who was a very experienced paralegal. We hired her. We were still at working out of the house. And she was like she was working out of our guest room. And she taught us a lot about estate planning, really, really schooled us. And She handled the drafting and Ashley would do the reviewing. And I started getting a little bit concerned about another pandemic or like a world shutdown again. And I started thinking, okay, well, if businesses, right, because we were still doing a lot of business law, mostly business law at the time. All right, well, what if the world shuts down? Our business is going to need our legal services, or how much will they, or whatever. So I just started getting a little worried about it, and I was in. Uh, I did a lot of real estate out in California when we lived there, and you get a commission check and you get paid, 3 to 2 to 3% on the sale. Out in California, those are nice commission checks.
Right.
Uh, and so I found out that probate, you can do the same with probate. And it was like, okay, well, probate is not you're always going to need probate.
Pandemic proof, right? Right.
Right,
Yes.
pandemic proof. So we found this woman named Stephanie, who was a very experienced probate paralegal. And God, I recruited her for like 4 or 5 months. She was just like, no, no, no. I just kept asking, come on, come on. And she was like helping us a little bit. She would come at night and like teach us a few things, but she wasn't working for us. Finally, I wore her down and she joined. But she was doing all of the work and she was also doing consultations too, because we didn't really know probate, but we were doing a lot of estate planning marketing. So we were getting leads for probate that we were having to turn away. So as soon as she joined, she started doing the consultations. And now she's not an attorney, right? So it was kind of like that was our first step into non-attorney salespeople. So she was doing it, but she didn't have to give legal advice on probates. And we were marketing more and more. So we hired a receptionist and she was phenomenal. And but she came in knowing nothing. Absolutely. She was just a receptionist, right? Young girl. She was, I think, maybe 22, 23 at the time. Super bright. Fast forward to today, and she now oversees our entire probate department.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing, right? We did all the training in-house with her and just put more and more responsibilities on her and, made her draft, right? It was like, "Okay, draft this, now get corrected on it. Okay, draft that, now get corrected on it." And we just kind of pushed like, "Hey, we need you to do this. We That's what we need." And yeah, now she's overseeing 400 probate cases, right? It's about how
My
many we have
goodness.
active
Yeah,
right now.
that's great.
Yeah, yeah. But I think the key was just, like, enforcing that she has to draft, and then we just correct. And then we just did that until it was just flawless, you know?
Yeah, I think that's such a key when you're trying to build your folks up internally. And that's really important to me with my team members that I'm not just hiring them to do tasks. I truly care about developing them and their skills and their knowledge and in areas that they have interest in within the work that we do. We spent, I'm trying to think if it was last year or the year before, I'm losing track of time now. But being certified professional medical coders is kind of a big deal in our area. And all of our team members have a foundational knowledge, but several of them didn't have that particular credential. So we spent the year, Friday mornings, we'd get together for about an hour, and I would teach them about medical coding and all the things that they needed to know for this certification exam. And then by the end of the year, every single one of them, it was our goal, they were going to all take the test and a little bit of peer pressure there too, among everybody, but they all got their certification in that credential. And that's one of the ways I really enjoy that time carved out with my team. It's like kind of talking shop, but not really. It's separate from all the client things that are going on, helping them develop their knowledge in something that's very important and very integral to what we do, and then getting them a new credential that they can feel proud of that we've earned. This year, we're shifting our focus a little bit to from well, both the legal and non-legal team, but kind of back to the legal team in an area we've identified as a challenge for us, which is contract review. We find our turnaround time is not what we would like for it to be. The attorneys kind of become the bottleneck while we're working on other deadlines. Folks need contracts reviewed, and we fall behind on that. So we really want to start leveraging our non-attorneys to the top of their skills and their expertise, that they're very qualified to look at contracts and do certain parts of the review, but again with that final attorney oversight before it goes out to the client. So we're going to shift our focus this year to training on our non-attorney team, and even with our attorneys involved. How do we look at contracts? What do we want to look at? And then also building workflows and some automation and some contract review tools and AI tools that we have to make that process more efficient, consistent, thorough, but ultimately get us that better turnaround time for clients too.
Yeah. Yeah. Smart. Smart. Um,
How do you deal with the bottleneck for your attorneys? I feel like with that heavily weighted non-attorney staff, the bottleneck then kind of becomes that getting the approval before things go out and having the time to review all of that work.
yeah. So I think the way we avoid that is it's a little bit of internal pressure. Okay. And the way we do that, everybody has a production statistic. Okay. So it's like, what are you producing for the business? Okay. So like, okay, so our probate administrator, right? Her statistic, her is number of matters completed, right? So probate's completed, right? Everything's done, right? Now there's sub statistics that are tracked that contribute to that, like, okay, how many tasks were completed on, right? Um, but we do it on a weekly basis, and everyone has a graph. Okay, so you see, okay, it's going up, it's good, right? Whatever. We plot it on a graph, and the attorneys, their their statistic is total matters completed, right? Or their own matters. Like, okay, what cases are they working on, and that's completed. Um, every week, every Monday, we have a staff meeting, and during the staff meeting, we go over any issue. Is there any issues that need to be addressed? We go over just general business announcements. Um, and then at the end, we go around the room and everyone holds up their graph. You say, okay. And the the internal pressure to have your stat up is very strong. And it's almost like embarrassing to have it down. And yeah, you'll see people like in the meeting, and there's like 20 of us sitting around and their stats down, and they're like hold it up, right? Like embarrassed to hold it up. Um, so I think that creates a lot of urgency, and we do it on it's a weekly basis. And as management, I look at more longer term. I'm looking at like trends, 6 week, 12-week trends. Okay, how's the right? Because you could have like a couple weeks up, but overall it's like kind of going down. It's like, okay, what's happening here? What do we need to fix? But we put the pressure on them uh, weekly, right? Okay, what do we need to do to get your stat up, right? That type of thing. Like I said, everyone, even from like our intake, our sales, our marketing, everyone has their own production statistics. So I would say that helps with the bottleneck, because you're going to have the paralegals are going to their stat is going to be dependent on the attorney reviewing it, right? So they're going to be like, "Hey, is it done?" Right? I don't
Right,
know. That
right.
I think
Yeah, I love the idea, and we're also working on what those stats look like for us, um, particularly for bonus a bonus program that I initially had designed for attorneys, and then we grew to both the combination of attorneys and non-attorneys, with the idea that I want metrics that are transparent. They know them in advance. They're not surprised by them. It's objective versus how I'm feeling on a particular day. On a scale of 1 to 10, I prefer things be quantifiable and objective and easy to administer, not something I'm going to have to spend a lot of time to work on and calculate and figure these out. And that's where we've kind of struggled in the last year or so on what KPIs we come up with for the different members of our team. A lot of goals, like we work on helping hospitals appeal denials from insurance companies. So one outcome might be, how successful are we? Yet we find their quality might be fantastic, but we have this extenuating circumstance of certain insurance companies that will just never overturn things because they don't. It's not a reflection of quality. So, how do
Yeah.
we account for that? And we're really trying to brainstorm some ideas going into this year to continue that goal of objective, transparent, and easy to administer KPIs that really align with our values and how we want to show up with our clients and how we want to perform for our business. And even though we have kind of a mix of flat fee, subscription, project based, and some hourly work that we've reverted back to, um, timekeeping is one of those that I have looked at to say, we're going to roll out a process that we expect daily, minimum weekly time to be entered into our timekeeping system. And that does a couple of things for me. It kind of lets me see um, who's light, what kind of work we're doing. Are the attorneys spending their time on legal work, or do we really need to continue focusing, shifting that to other team members? But also, if you don't get time in on those hourly clients, then that's time we don't get to bill. I, like your wife, am not great at hourly billing. So I'm using a tool called Manic Time. And Manic Time tracks every click on my computer all day long and has really helped me capture hours upon hours. That as I'm just clicking through emails, just trying to get through my work in the day, I'm
Yeah.
not email, time entry. I'm not doing that. And it lets me sit down at the end of the day or at the end of the week to identify what work I've done, who it belongs to, and really efficiently. I do have an assistant who's putting that time in for me with little notations that I write out to capture that time. But also on our flat fee and our subscription clients, I know if Bree's listening, she would slap me with a stick to say, it's value, it's not time. And that's true. But I also want to make sure I'm capturing how much time and effort in the sense of cost or expense of my team we're spending on subscription and flat fee clients to make sure over time that rate still makes sense. We've got the right number, because how much I've got to pay my team to do a task is a factor ultimately in how we adjust those rates down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned bonuses. That's something that we give out a lot of bonuses.
I
And
like bonuses too. Yes.
yeah, it's based on production. All the bonuses are based on production. So, um, with like probate, they get bonused. There's like a midway point of the probate where once they get it to that, then they get bonused, and then once it gets completed, then they get bonused. Um, Probate varies in what we charge, so they get a flat bonus, and I think we calculated it out. It comes out to about 5% on average of what we collect in legal fees is allocated for a bonus. Um, but I think that helps move things along a lot quicker too. That'll help with the bottleneck. That gives these guys motivation. Once we implemented those bonus systems, oh my god, because we were like, oh, these probates, they're not closing. Like, what the hell's going on? And this and that. And then as soon as we implemented the bonus, all of a sudden they're magically getting completed. And it's that fire. You know, some people aren't money motivated. A lot of people are, which is okay, right? It's totally fine.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said though, whether or not you're money motivated, the gesture or the expression of of gratitude periodically, I think there is something that's a psychological lift when you feel like recognized in whatever way that is, whether it's a bonus, it's a shout out on LinkedIn or a shout out on your team messages. I like to put a dollar value to it because I think it's worth it. But I think it's just kind of a um, really a morale that you feel like you're being recognized not just through your salary, but when something specific has happened that you've got that recognition for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we've that's a little bit of a poor point of Ashley and mine is publicly acknowledging someone for like a job well done. And we've gotten better at it recently. And like announcing it at staff meeting, during our weekly set. Hey, so and so did this. We I just want to give a acknowledgement. It was so good, or whatever. We're getting better at it, but it really does go a long way, right? When you mention someone publicly, it's like, hey, this person kicked ass here. It's like, yeah, it really makes a
Yeah,
difference.
I have heard that from my team as well, that they really appreciate the acknowledgement. I think often as kind of the business owner, it goes without saying, or you might tell them good job, but as you're telling others about their good job, I've heard several of them comment that they really appreciate that about what we try to do.
Yeah, 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 it really does. Yeah, I would what back to the stats, like the KPIs, you said some of these insurance claims will get denied, right?
Right.
Okay. So it's not really like in their control. So that would be a bad KPI to keep for them. Are
Yeah,
they
it's
just like,
not so much yeah, I don't feel like that is a reflection of the quality of their work if something they produce got denied.
right?
Um, so it's yeah, it's challenging to figure out the metric that reflects what is important to us without penalizing them when it's outside of their control.
Yeah. I think it would be smart of you to, as management, keep track of the ratio of submitted versus approved, right? That would be good because like, okay, 90% get approved, right? Like let's say that's the average or whatever. And then 3 months from now, all of a sudden it's down to like 40%. It's like, wait, what's happening? Maybe quality did go down. Maybe they were missing some stuff. So I think that would be smart for you to monitor the ratio, um, just as like a quality control point. But yeah, probably just submitting the documents is
Yeah,
is
I
kind
mean,
of
that's
what.
a just from a productivity metric,
Yeah,
we know how many generally we should be able to do a day. And that's a great point. That one alone could be something that we look at. And then I always think too, some are harder than others. So we don't want cherry picking and going through like just the quick, easy ones. It's about getting all of the work done. So finding the right balance there also.
yeah, we have the same with probate, right? Because probate is, some of them are super cakewalk, others are, a bird's nest. Um, and we decided not to separate them out because then you start getting into arbitrariness,
Yeah, right.
you know. I'd caution you
Ultimately, I
on
mean, I
that.
think there's a difference too. You can have productivity goals, which just kind of helps keep everybody honest that we're working and we're being diligent throughout the day and being good stewards of time. But then you also have things that could be bonusable, which is as a team, how did we do for our clients? That ratio. Did we achieve this certain percent of success or this certain dollar amount for a client? What I like about making that as a team is it encourages everybody to work together instead of something I'm doing personally versus what you're doing personally. How can we work together because we are both trying to achieve this one goal? I'm not trying to hoard the work, hoard the quality, hoard the easy cases for myself to get the bonus, but that is bonusable across the team. And we really try to promote an environment that encourages all of us to work together towards that common goal versus individual performance.
Yeah. Yeah, we do the individual performance, right? But then I guess it was maybe like 4 months ago, we implemented uh, a go home early on Friday, where so the paralegals have they have two statistics, which one is matters completed, and then the other is our previous. We used to keep like a point system basically for tasks, certain tasks completed within that matter, and it had a point arbitrary point system applied to it. But that was the KPI that they had for years, and they really liked it. So we kept that. So we said that if both statistics are up for the entire department, right? So this is everybody, right? Then you can leave at 12 o'clock on Fridays. So for that week. So now it's turned into this like group effort,
I
whereas
love
before,
that.
yeah, before it was a little bit separated.
Yeah. You mentioned tasks. It sounds like in your CRM, you've got probate broken down into discrete steps to navigate the process, and you've kind of gotten some points or values assigned along the way, bonus versus tasks completed. Do you is it like an automated workflow that moves a case through those stages and you can kind of see the layout of what is where?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. So when a sale gets made in in Zoho, it automatically creates a project, which is a matter, and that gets automatically sent to the production team. And that project has all of the tasks that are associated to complete that project. So we have one for estate planning, the different types of probate, Medicaid, right? Um, but yeah, it's all just like boom, broken down, like do all these tasks in order. The That project is assigned to a paralegal. So the paralegal becomes the owner of that project. They have their legal assistant, and all of the tasks then get assigned appropriately to the right person. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's part of the automation I think we're working on too. And there are so many different types of matters and projects in the business world, where it's not that consistent, the exact same steps in a probate process. So I try to take a lot of the tips from that Facebook group where we were first connected that tend to be in areas of family law or probate or bankruptcy, where it's a very systematic process every time, and then try to translate to what we do that has more variation, but we still have general trends. We have contract review, and there are steps that go into that. We have denials or appeals that we work on, and there are steps to that. But trying to then bring all of those together into workflows where you can't mess it up because it's walking you through the steps, and we make sure everything is getting done is really kind of our next phase of how we do that. Did you roll that out from the very beginning, or did that come as you all grew and you kind of developed that process later on?
yeah. It's been a work in progress. So when we first started, we didn't have that at all. When it was just obviously Ashley and I. And then as we started getting more team members, we used a CRM called Close, CLOZE, which is mostly meant for realtors. Now, because I have lots of sales training, I brought that aspect into the business, and so I wanted things set up how I wanted it for sales. But then it also had this kind of project management, but it was real clunky. Then when we got into Zoho, it was like I didn't even know Zoho had it, and then our developer brought it up. I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" Um, Let me see if I can share. I'll just give you an idea of kind of what it looks like. Maybe 1 second. But it's yeah, I don't know what we would do without it now. Um, Yeah, we would
Our
be.
version of that right now, trying our best to leverage the Office 365 tools, our project planner and the tasks within Planner. Um, in Teams, we bring in our client files, we bring in tasks and projects, and we just have a board. And that's where all kind of tasks work goes. And when we create a task, you can create a checklist saying like step one, here's step two, here's step three, and kind of write out the instructions in that task and replicate. The last time we did this type of denial, here were the steps. So I'm going to replicate that again. It's a little bit cumbersome, but it's a it's a start. I think it's a start where we are really forcing your tasks need to be on this board, not on a post-it, not somewhere else on your computer, somewhere we can all see what's going on. Because if you go out of the office unexpectedly for a week, I need to know what's on your plate, what deadlines you have, and we need to be able to work together to get that work done.
Yeah.
So our first and foremost foundationally was saying all tasks will be electronic somewhere, somehow, where we can all see them. And now we're kind of working through what is the best way to do that? Do we have the best thing for us, or are there other systems we need to look at?
Yeah. Can you, yeah, you absolutely need to have that here. Can you see this?
Yes, yes,
Is it real small or no?
I can see it. Yeah.
O- Okay, so like this is just our probate template. Um, but we really break down, right? So as soon as a project gets created, it goes to Danielle here. So she's the project manager for all projects, right? She really knows Zoho well. And so it gets sent to her. And then so she then assigns all the tasks. She does these, right? All of these things. Then we have like a whole section just on the fee agreement, right? Is that done? Is that done properly? Right? Is it in the right place? Has it been reviewed? Right? All that stuff. And then yeah, it just is this laundry list of yeah, it just goes on forever,
Yeah,
it feels
this
like.
is amazing. So, and one of the goals I tasked my team with last year was to create the process, write the process down. We have what we're calling now process documents for most of the work that we do. And this is really kind of the next step with it is how do we take what we've written down in a process and then more automate it into now a workflow, right? That it's
Yeah.
not just in writing where I pull up directions, but it's actually some technology to move us through those steps.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Microsoft's system. I've heard Monday. Have you heard of Monday?
I have, yes, that's one that
Yeah.
I see often as well. I've looked at it and it looks very similar to things that Microsoft Office Planner can do, and that's where I've just kind of as much as I can keep it within our same environment, I've
Yeah.
tried to do that. But there's a point that I think you start to figure out we need kind of best in class for this function. And I think that's where the decision point that we're at now. Do we keep things here because it's nice and easy and cost effective to have one subscription every month rather than all of these different platforms? Or do we really need something that's going to next level our ability to manage tasks and manage projects?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, you may want to look in. Have you ever looked into Lawmatics?
I have. I've looked at Clio, LawMat, all of the big names that you see. And I think for me, again, it's that initial question of how do I step back into the executive role? How do I find the time to explore and to vet these different programs and applications and then figure out which one's going to be the best for us? Because I know there are tools out there that could be great options for us.
Yeah. Can your husband help with that?
Now we're talking about relinquishing control. And that's a yes, yes, he absolutely can. And I know what my husband would do, which is probably the same thing I would do. We would get on ChatGPT and say, here's what our firm looks like. What are the options? What are the pros and cons? Create a grid for us. Um, those are definitely goals that we've got for this year to figure out what some of those applications and tools might be.
Yeah. Give him more control. Give him more control.
He's working on it. He is the one thing he would like control of that he can't have control of is the calendar because it would be completely clear, and if it was up to him, I would do no work whatsoever. So that one's off limits. But my husband, my new financial manager, he's getting more and more tasks, and soon he'll want to be on payroll. So I've got to be
I know. It took me a while to get onto payroll, but
careful.
I finally did. Yeah, yeah, finding the time. I mean, it's funny you say that because I've been the one to get all of the software and look into it and all. There's just no way Ashley would have done it. It just
How did that work for you to implement that as your firm was already kind of going and in business? How did the team react to what I imagine was a pretty significant change and learning curve to use that system as detailed as it is?
it was terrible,
Well,
be
thank you
quite
for the
honest.
honest feedback.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
Our, because when we before we moved into Zoho, we were doing everything on spreadsheets and yeah, it, everything was on spreadsheets. That's
Spreadsheets are one of those hard things to give up. Giving up that trusty, reliable spreadsheet, even though you know the new system ultimately is going to be better, it's hard to let go of that process.
yes. And when we moved over into Zoho, our developer, he just kept telling me the team's going to have trouble. The team's going to, and as I'm working with him, I was basically on a meeting with him almost every day for 3 months and building this thing out. So it really made a lot of sense to me, like the software, like I really got a good grasp of it. And he was just like, they're not going to like it. He's like, you're going to get pushback. You're going to get people who don't want to use it, people who are just going to keep like working on the spreadsheets. And because he had done this same thing with 100 businesses before. I kept kind of dismissing him, thinking, well, he's just being dramatic or whatever, and he wasn't. Uh, Especially getting them to use the projects that I just showed you, and to move everything because everyone was tracking on spreadsheets. So they'd have their own spreadsheet and they created how they wanted it. Um, and it took time, but we were finally able to duplicate exactly what they were using, like the columns and everything on the
Yeah.
spreadsheet. We were able to duplicate that inside the project. So we were eventually able to move it all over, but it took a while. And yeah, they weren't happy. It was a lot of
You
like,
hit a key point there. I'm used to seeing things a certain way, and it
yeah,
is very hard to shift the way you're used to seeing things into a different visual presentation.
yeah, yeah. It wasn't fun. Um, it wasn't fun. We implemented some stuff that was a mistake to implement, particularly in projects. You know, I had to eat crow on that, but whatever, it's fine. Um, but now that's it, I don't know where we would be with it. It would be a complete shit show if we didn't have it now.
I
It would
imagine, and new team members coming on, it's probably
right.
exponentially easier that the system is in place. So it's kind of an initial pain point and learning curve to make that big jump into more from more manual steps processes to really systematizing things.
Yeah. Yeah. It took about I'd say about 6 months before
Okay.
the projects were 100% implemented.
Did you go all in, all projects all at once, or did you say, here's a type of project, we're going to start in the system with that?
No, we probably should have, but we went all in right away. But I don't know because they're different practice areas. So I think had we just started with okay, estate planning, and we just implement, we could have debugged the problems that we're going to have by doing it with estate planning, but then we would still have the same issue with probate, right? We'd have different kind of problems when we implemented it that were need to be handled. So I think if anything, it probably just made me lose a little bit more hair. I don't know if that's possible, but um,
Well, my version of that is going gray, and I've had my fair share of it, so no,
well,
I
you got to
think there's pros
go.
and cons both ways. I mean, you do one type at a time, and now you've got dual systems to be working in. That has pros and cons. Going all in, giving up the old, it's pros and cons too.
Yeah, I think it was more of an issue for me because I instead of getting hit from one department on the bugs, I was getting hit by all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So it created a lot of work for me, but I'm not I'm not particularly work averse.
Well, and what you're signaling to me, again, it's kind of that relinquishing control as the owner, and you want to not dictate, but have the control over what this looks like, how it works. I can't be the troubleshooter if we have that system that we're implementing. That's going to have to be either a resource from the vendor, the software service, or if my husband is willing to help out working
Yes,
through bugs and learning the system. I think that's also not the executive function that I would be shifting to, and
no.
have to figure out a way to, relinquish the control of that software troubleshooting.
Is your husband tech savvy?
He is pretty good, fortunately.
Good. Are you?
I like to think that I am. I am not as savvy on AI and systems and automation as I would like to be. I have the interest, I know how important it is, but it's kind of been like the time to learn it. I've just not carved out that time to figure it out. And I know
Yeah.
there are experts who, I'll never be at the level that I need to be, other than knowing it's out there and I want to use it and I want to leverage it.
Yeah. My wife, God bless her soul, she is this super intelligent, but when it comes to technology, my deceased grandmother, who's is probably better at technology than she is.
I like to think I'm a little bit better than that with technology, but I do have my moments where he has to step in and say, "Have you tried to shut it down and restart?" And level tier one customer support.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's funny. Um, what, so do you wanna make this thing big? Are you like the
Yeah, it's interesting. We were in a 6-hour car ride, and my husband and I were talking about almost that exact same question, kind of what we want to do this year and over the next couple of years, and then what does 10 years from now look like? I don't know if I know yet. Um, I ultimately would like my hours to be lower than they are right now. I but the challenge is I love what I do. I love every aspect of it. I like the business management. I like the mentoring and training, and I like the legal work. And I find myself trying to do all of that. But I know ultimately I need to pull the hours back to really get back to what I originally set out to do, which is have a profession that I love, have a good income, but also to be available and very present with my family evenings and weekends. And that's where I've slowly felt myself slipping, in consuming more evenings and weekends on work
Yeah.
than personal life. Um, I love the group that I have, and I think we're gonna spend some time kinda settling where we are and see what we can do with this group, before deciding whether things just continue to grow. If that happens, though, I will have to come to a level of peace with relinquishing a lot more control than I have relinquished to date.
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of what the relinquishing of control that we've done is putting people in positions who are better than me at that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You
Right.
know?
And that could mean better, I think, knowledge or skill wise, but it also could mean better in terms of getting it done quicker and faster. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm very capable of going into an accounting system and marking an invoice paid. But for someone to do that and have the time to dedicate and get it done immediately versus me doing it at the end of the month or maybe once every couple of months as time gets away from me, that's really what got me to the point of saying someone else should be doing that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you love what you do. So that's a um
I do, yeah. And I think the whole team loves what we do and loves working with one another, which is fantastic. And it's a blessing and a curse because while my team they're A plus, I worry we all overwork ourselves, and I'll find ourselves, you know, putting in more time than what I want for all of us collectively to have a good work-life balance. And tools, technology, learning, leveraging those things, I think is just going to be the key to being really efficient with what we do now with the work we have and the group we have, and then figuring out, does this scale somehow? Or
right.
is this just a really good thing? Let's not try to fix what's not broken.
Yeah. Yeah, we absolutely need to become more efficient in our law firm, and we did something pretty interesting recently that I'm going to tell you about. That's it's exciting, and it kind of puts a lot of responsibility on the team in regards to the growth of our law firm. So, you know, as a non-attorney, they can't own any bit of the business, you know. Um, but we have some people here who have been with us from the very beginning who treat the business like their own. And unfortunately, yeah, they can't own any stake in it. So we started looking at our long-term goals, and we said we want to generate our 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 10-year plan is to generate 50 million in annual revenue. Okay, it's a big goal.
It's a big goal.
And when we get there, we decided that we're going to attempt to sell the firm. Okay. After looking into it, right, a lot of it, the sales price is a lot of it is dependent on the efficiency of the business, the profitability, and a key metric is the gross revenue divided by employee. Okay, so right, how much revenue you're bringing in divided by how many employees you have. And a good range to be is between 300,000 and 500,000. You know, anything less than 300,000, there's like inefficiencies, that type of thing. If you're above 500,000, it usually means they're overworked, uh, right? So where you kind of fit in that realm, that 300 to 500,000 realm, kind of determines the multiple of the offer that you can expect. So getting to 500,000 per employee is really like our goal.
It's your stretch goal.
So
Yes.
yeah. So we it was about 3 weeks ago, Ashley and I filmed like a 10-minute video explaining all of this, telling our employees this is our vision, this is what we're going for. And when, you know, we need that revenue divided by employee, we need it to be, you know, on the higher end of that 300 to 500 scale, because that'll determine the sales price. And we said we're going to take 20 to 30% of the sales price and distribute it amongst the staff. And you know, we said we could kind of, if we're at 50 million, we could sell anywhere between 100 and 400 million would be a sales price. So the distribution to employees will, you know, be dependent on their tenure and their position in the company and their contribution to help us get to those goals. Um, but a lot of it, you know, we really explained to get to that like 500,000 per employee mark. That means that we're being very, very efficient. So right now we're at around 200,000 per employee. So we're like the opposite of efficient. And we explain, look, you all, if you're here with us when this day comes, you will be getting a nice check. Now, how much that check is depends on basically how efficient we are. So we really,
Some retention incentives and yeah, that's
yeah,
great. Where did you find that
unfortunately,
metric? That's a number that I've considered for myself as I grow. Where where should I be gross per FTE basically? And I was having trouble figuring out if that metric is essentially the same regardless if we're talking about attorney FTE versus a non-attorney FTE.
yeah, our HR guy came up with all the numbers. He did a bunch of research on it. I'd have to find out where exactly he got it from, but yeah, he was saying for law firms, and I don't think you take we're not we're not um we're not breaking it down by employee, or like whether they're an attorney or not an attorney. We're just looking at the whole company as a whole.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, the whole room lit up. People were very, very excited about it. It gives them incentive to make us more efficient, you know?
absolutely. Right. Right. And I love the idea. Everyone talks about employee turnover and then how exhausting that is to train up the new person on your process and systems. That's only going to help your efficiency if you're working with the same team that you don't have to invest all the retraining time and effort and energy into. But this group becomes more efficient with your own process. And that's really one of my goals too, because I love the team that I have and continuing to work within this team and build the systems, build the processes that help them do their job, help them do their job better, easier, more consistently with the same quality, better turnaround time, just as good, if not better outcomes, I think is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we felt like doing this puts a lot of responsibility on the team to get more efficient. Like, we started talking about AI, right? Okay, you guys have, okay, the probate department. We have this 8 to 12-month process. Okay, how can we use AI to get better? And now I'm not an attorney. I'm not a paralegal. I'm not in there, right? I don't know what the hell I'm doing legal work wise. So I really rely on the team to find these solutions, right, for me. Um, where, before, I don't think they really were. It was just kind of like, okay, this is what we're doing, and now we're hoping that, now that we put a little bit more incentive into it, that they'll start to like look at things more, yeah, than I'm able to.
Absolutely. I mean, contracts is our example of that, where a lot of the contract review we do is for clients that are on kind of a set amount per month. So it makes a lot of sense. Well, one, we want to get things back to them in a timely manner, but two, it makes a lot of sense for us to do that work faster. We're not incentivized to slow down and read every single word, nor do I think that's in the client's best
Right.
interest either. And then balancing, like a lot of firms have talked about AI policies on how you do and do not use AI. That's never our final product, right? A review or a draft of something, but it is a great start. Instead of opening up Microsoft Word as a blank template and beginning to type, you to get something on paper to work with is a huge time saver. And we've really started to leverage those tools, contract review tools. There's one called Spellbook that we're really working on building out and customizing for us, to make that process more efficient, so that that monthly rate allows us to maybe pull back the actual number of hours, but with the same productivity. And now we have time to do other things that maybe are billed hourly or an additional flat fee project for that month that we could do.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. For AI, do you use Microsoft's Copilot?
We do, because in our world, we have a lot of patient information for our
Yeah.
clients. So Chat GPT, we've kind of put off limits for anything with patient information. Copilot within our Microsoft environment, we don't train the system and it stays within us. And we have a uh, healthcare privacy contract with Microsoft on their tools. So we have some sense of security and protection in the way we're using that if it might involve patient information in the Copilot tool.
Yeah. Yeah, I just found that out about, because Google has Gemini.
Yes.
Gemini's
Yeah.
yeah. We just found this out like 2 months ago that, oh, Gemini's, it's all protected and it can pull information from files and all this stuff. Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing.
It's another tool that's like, I need to know more about it. How could we better leverage Copilot within our own environment to say, find examples of XYZ agreements and, draft one for me? Or I don't even know the capabilities, but I know the
No.
options are there that we could leverage it better.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I wanna look into a little bit more, how we can leverage Gemini to help us be more efficient for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're great drafting tools. I love using it in Outlook as I'm writing emails, and it can kind of get 4 or 5 words ahead of me to make my email drafting faster. And there's so many options out there. It's almost overwhelming on where to even start.
It is, but it's gonna be a very different we're just at the very beginning of AI. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and in a
Yeah,
couple of
it's
years, it's
so
gonna
exciting. Now, do you have clients who come to you saying, "Here's my research," and Google research was bad enough, but now we have ChatGPT research, and I have contracts presented to me that were very. You can kind of tell ChatGPT's formatting or research that very clearly was the output of ChatGPT, and in our kind of specialized area, ChatGPT is not good for legal research in our area. Lots of hallucinations, lots of recommendations that really just don't fit the unique situations. I'm curious if you all have that challenge too, where some of our time is now educating clients that their research notably has no citation and is not a real rule in our world of healthcare business or healthcare payment.
Uh, you know, I don't think we hear it too often with our practice areas. We still do a little bit of business law. We have an of counsel attorney, so she might actually hear it more. But as far as like probate, estate planning, Medicaid assistance, I don't think we really hear it too much. Um, yeah.
Got to be the lawyer's version of what doctors have been dealing with WebMD for a long
Yes.
time, and now it's hitting our industry.
Uh, I do know that we generally don't like reviewing contracts, not reviewing contracts, like if someone wrote a contract themselves,
Yes.
right? We're like, "No, we're not gonna do that." Generally speaking. Yeah, or like a will. Usually, like, if we get a last will and testament that even another attorney did, and then someone wants to, like, change it, it's like, "No, we're gonna redo it instead of just editing that document."
Yeah, I do a lot of that in the business law context, especially creating organizations and operating agreements or management agreements. We get a lot of either opposing party kind of small business. I've created these documents myself. Um, the I guess I don't want to call out any names, but the online legal services that give you an out of the box document, particularly in healthcare. An operating agreement in healthcare doesn't look the
Oh
same
my
as general business. There are very specific rules and things you can and cannot do that your out of the box templates or chat GPT are not going to give you. So we also strongly prefer to draft those documents ourselves rather than edit something.
So what do you do when someone brings you an operating agreement for healthcare? What do you are
Yeah,
you like,
I'll
"No?"
give you an example of some individuals I helped set up their operating agreement. And in healthcare, one of the rules we have to think about sometimes, like law firms, you may not be able to have a non-medical person be an owner in your medical business, depending on the state and the nature of work. So they brought me an agreement where they were going to co-own this business with non-medical professionals. So that was challenge number one. Challenge number two, it was an out of the box template online. And so I explained to them, I was able to find that exact template by doing a Google search. And I said, here's some of the problems: governing law in another state. We kind of pointed out some things that when I explained what it meant, they said, yeah, can you just rewrite this the way you want it? Yes, I can. Thank you very much for giving me that freedom and flexibility to do it. I said, I can edit this, but probably the time it's going to take me to edit this to do what you want to do in a compliant way is going to
Take more
exceed
time.
the time to give you something that we feel comfortable with, that we know top to bottom already, but we can tweak it for what you need.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always our pitch. It's gonna take us more time to edit what you're handing us than just to do a new one.
That's right. That's right. And then I go back to the flat fee concept. If we're doing that hourly versus flat fee, if it's flat fee, well, the price goes up because there's going to be more work involved, more risk for me to edit a document that I didn't draft versus something that I know very well.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
And then
Well,
usually they just prefer the attorney drafted document over the out of box that now becomes the more expensive choice.
they should prefer that. They
Right,
should prefer
right,
that.
right.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was a lot of fun.
It was. Thank you for having me. Great first meeting of the year to have.
For sure. For sure. All right. You have any plans? Yeah, your kids still off school?
They are. Let's see. So this is Friday. Monday they go back. So a couple more days of hopefully enjoying one another at home. Not too many fights going on with the kiddos in the household, and we keep the peace a few more days. And yeah, this that really the slow time for us is kind of right now during the holidays, and this is really when I enjoy doing things like this and thinking about the business. And gosh, now I've got about 15 other ideas I've got to go explore today with some of this quiet time.
Do your twins get along well, or who's fighting normally
Oh,
amongst the
I
kids?
it's just a mix. Our kids are really into Roblox right now, and so the 3 of them have, some of my old sanitized work laptops, and they just sit there and they somehow can figure out a way to fight virtually, on who's doing what within the Roblox game. So that's really our
Oh,
biggest problem right now.
oh my god, that's so funny. So they're like in the video game fighting in the
Yeah,
video game.
yeah,
Are
they
they like are they like typing fighting, or are they like yelling at each other from
Yeah,
across the
it's
room?
so bizarre to watch this. It's like, if you picture kids playing Barbies and they're talking to one another and acting out like different scenes and things that are happening, and they're doing that except they're on the computers, but they're speaking to one another about what is happening in the game. It is so bizarre to watch this play out.
Oh,
But when the fighting on Roblox starts, devices go away and they have to figure out how to occupy themselves like normal human beings. So they either get along or we have to go outside and play like everybody else.
yeah, yeah. How was it having twins?
Wild. It was wild. I was partnered at a law firm when the twins were born, and it was exhausting. They were not particularly good sleepers, and I
Mm,
hardly remember the first year trying to work and on minimal sleep, let alone consecutive sleep. So it was a really hard
would
balance
you have
of work and home.
would you have times where, okay, you get up, one of them's crying in the middle of the night, but the other one's not?
Oh,
And
100%.
then
It
I
was back and forth constantly.
oh
Yes.
my god.
They were not on a nice synchronized schedule at all.
Oh, oh,
Um, yeah, sleep was a real challenge, and I am particularly sensitive to sleep deprivation. So my mood I was probably not the most pleasant person to be around, and of course, work is stressful and still very demanding in terms of your cognitive energy, your emotional energy, and just your time. So it was really challenging as they were infants and into toddler years. But fortunately, as they've gotten older, um, it's just really fun to watch their different personalities grow and develop, and they sleep through the night now. So that fingers crossed, that's been a blessing as well.
Oh my god. I feel for you guys that children that didn't sleep through the night. We had found this book, it's called On Becoming Baby Wise, and have you heard of it?
I have, yes.
Yeah. We followed it to a T, and it worked for us, and literally at 9 weeks 9 weeks, slept through the night, and ever since she did.
I can't even imagine. I cannot. It was 9 months before we got 4 consecutive hours of sleep.
I don't know how
Um,
you do I don't know how you live and do that.
I don't either. I repeated now, I don't know that I could do that again. I have no idea. Like I said, that whole first year is just a complete blur.
Yeah.
Um, it very challenging, and then to just try to enjoy your kids, right? When you're so sleep deprived and so stressed and so exhausted
And
is
I imagine you probably get a little bit like you get, like, pissed off, like, there was yeah, there was a select few nights where our daughter didn't sleep through the night, right? Or she, like, didn't wanna go to bed or stuff like that, and I would find myself getting, like, irritated
Oh
with
my
her,
gosh,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah.
So if you're dealing with that for, like, as long as you were, it's like, oh, then you start, like, resenting your kid, and it's just like you're dead tired, you're like a zombie, and now it's like, "Oh my
Zombie's a
goodness."
good way to describe it. It became sort of the new normal, and
Right.
it was just going through the motions of whatever needed to be done. It was just so automated. You know, we were hardly like aware of what was going on in the middle of the night, going back and forth between the two. I wish I even could remember more details other than that. It was just automated, just almost like a zombie going through the motions.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad they're sleeping through the night now.
Yes, yes. Fortunately, we've got one of the twins who has always just required less sleep than the other. We did have to separate their rooms because she would get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and wake her sister up. And
Oh my
sister
god.
is like, Mom, we need our sleep. So the girls had to be separated, and we had to kind of help one entertain herself in the morning and come up with some activities so she didn't wake everybody in the house up just because she was awake and ready to go. And other than that, it's been great watching them grow up and become more independent. And we've had great holiday season this year that I really could appreciate being at home, still working, but being with them and being able to hang out with them throughout the day periodically, and just really appreciating that flexibility to do it.
Well, good job on creating that life, you know, right? Creating yeah, making that happen for yourself, so you can be around them and all that. And your law firm's doing great, by the way. Like, the problems that you're experiencing now are, all good problems.
Yeah, it is all good problems, good growing pains, and it's so inspiring to hear some of your revenue goals. I think I might need to up mine now that I've heard some of those numbers, but it is really fun to work on. I really enjoy it, and it's such an interesting. I love the name of your podcast, the Non-Stuffy Attorneys, because from the beginning, I was like, I'm not going to be a marble and mahogany type law firm. I hardly even use the term firm. We just call ourselves a team because that just feels like more of what we're trying to create.
Yeah. Yeah, people love the name Nonstop because that's our law firm is at Cause Law Office, and then the tagline is Non-Stuffy Attorneys.
Love it.
Yeah, it brings in a ton of business. It's wild how it really sets us apart from the competitors.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And that's a marketing in and of itself, to just the way you present yourself to others is just a little more casual than the suit and tie kind of attorneys.
that's right. Yeah, we don't allow
Yeah.
suit and ties here.
I love that. I love it. It should be prohibited. There you go.
Yeah, it's like in our dress code, no suit and tie. Well, perfect. Great podcast. Thank you very much for being on.
Thanks
I
for
love
having
hearing
me. Yes,
yeah.
I hope we stay in touch, whether it's the Facebook group or otherwise.
I will always make myself available. If you ever wanna reach out and discuss shop or discuss anything, discuss baby's sleep or whatever, I'll always I
Well,
always
you know,
make
you're
myself.
you're a couple years ahead of me with the girls, so, I may need to do that and figure out what's coming up for me next.
Yeah, for sure. It's wild.
I'll bet.
All right, well, very good. You have a great rest of your day and go kick ass in 2026.
You as well, thank you.